It was a late night on the West Coast in California. Duke playing an ACC game in the Golden State for the first time ever, and Duke wins by 15 over the Cal Golden Bears. Wow, what a late night.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. The Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson. So great to have you here with us today on our Thursday, January 15th, 2026 episode of Locked On Blue Devils, your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. On today's show, we talk about Duke's win late night over the Cal Golden Bears, 71-56, the final score as the Blue Devils pick up yet another ACC victory. They're 5-0 in league play in their first ever conference game played in the state of California. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Take a moment, if you will, to watch our show daily on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share it with your friends. Like these videos, as your support means so much to us here on Locked On Blue Devils. Kevin Connelly's hanging out with us here. It's a late night. It's into Thursday now, talking about this Duke basketball win over the Cal Golden Bears. Again, a really impressive performance from Duke, a 7-point lead at halftime. Cal fought back a little bit early in the second half, but then Duke was finally able to take control late in the second half of this one, get some separation, and put together one of their absolute best defensive performances in this one. So I think we're going to have a whole lot to get into on today's show. Of course, we'll have a box score that we dive into a little bit later in the program. We'll look ahead to Saturday's contest against Stanford and so much more. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So here he is, Kevin Connelly, hanging out with us today. After this one comes to a close, good morning, good evening, whatever the world it is. Kevin, you and I are talking. It's now officially Thursday, fitting to give folks their Thursday morning episode here, and Duke basketball a winner over Cal.
Yeah, listen, JJ, I'm good on the 11 p.m. Eastern starts.
Yeah.
I'm good on those. Thank goodness there's not another one left. Like the game Saturday on the West Coast is a 6 p.m. Eastern start, so like normal time. But listen, I think there's a lot of like details you can get into about this game. I think kind of what we talked about throughout the lead up to this game, the rotation is one of them. Certainly the play of specific players for the better or the worse is one of them. But when it comes down to it, Duke goes on the road. Duke gets a nice win. The end of the first half leading right into the second half, I thought were really good, especially when Cal took that 6-point lead right after the under 4 media timeout in the first half. Duke went on, what was it, close to a 10-0 run or something like that going into the half, and Isaiah Evans played a major role in that. So, yeah, all in all, I think it's a solid win on the road on the West Coast. They've been out there since Monday, and they get a win here Wednesday night, and they'll look forward to their game on Saturday against Stanford and then getting a week off coming back east.
Let's see what Duke can do building off of this. Again, a really impressive performance from everybody contributing and pitching in against this Cal team. We talked about some of the stars to highlight for them and Duke trying to improve on the defensive end of the floor. I posted after the game immediately on X. This was the first game since the December 16th Lipscomb game that an opponent that Duke was going up against shot less than 40% from the field, which is not that high of a bar to get to when you're thinking about some of the great Duke defenses that we've seen and what we've seen out of this team earlier in the year against really talented competition. Cal shot just 37% from the floor. That was awesome. Right from the get-go, Duke was all over them. I love the activity that Duke got from Dame Sarr, a starting lineup switch once again where Gongba came back into the starting fold for the Blue Devils. Sarr stayed out there. Love the activity he brings defensively. And I just love the defense all around from Duke.
Yeah, I think we all kind of expected Pat Gongba to be back out there in the starting lineup. I think Dame Sarr starting the game, and in the first half, I mean, he played 17 minutes. He was limited to just 6 minutes in the second half. Why? Well, there's probably a couple of reasons why you can really get into it. Caleb Foster played a lot better. I think that's one reason why he only played 6 minutes in that second half. But the job he was able to do, especially in that first half on Day Ames, and obviously Duke fans familiar with Day Ames, spent some time in the ACC prior to transferring over to Cal, goes scoreless in the first half, misses all 4 shots he takes, and he is guarded for basically the entire first half by Dame Sarr. His length and his athleticism really overwhelmed Ames, who is on the smaller side. As a guard, he's on the smaller side, but when you're going up against someone who's 6'8" and just overwhelms you with his length and his wingspan, things are going to be tough. And he was able to score 8 points in the second half. And like I said, primarily Dame Sarr not on the floor for that many minutes in the second half. But I thought Sarr played really, really well again defensively. And all of a sudden, he's kind of figuring it out. Even when his shot isn't falling like it wasn't against Louisville in the second half, look at his defense on Ryan Conwell. You look at the game against Florida State where he did start to score the basketball. And even the last game against SMU where a couple of shots were able to fall for him. So I do think Dame Sarr might be figuring things out. And here in this game, 5 points, he does make a 3-pointer. But I think the big story from him is that defense he played in the first half.
Beyond that, offensively for Duke, they got big performances from Cameron Boozer, particularly in the second half. He took over on the inside. Really good second half minutes from Nik Khamenia that we'll get into here in just a moment. And then Isaiah Evans carrying a lot of the load as well. Had 12 points at halftime. He went on a crazy run himself towards the end of that first half to make it a 7-point lead for Duke. And you and I talked about it a ton, Kevin, going into ACC play. Who's going to be that secondary scoring option for Duke? Isaiah Evans has taken full reins of that, and we saw that once again tonight against Cal.
Well, listen, it is Isaiah Evans. He is the secondary scorer on this team, whether he likes it or not. And certainly he likes it. In his mind, he probably thinks he's the number one scoring option on this team, because when Isaiah Evans gets on a little bit of a run like he did at the end of the first half, I'm sure there are other players around the country who maybe are more electric in a heat check type moment, or can fill it up maybe more efficiently than a guy like Isaiah Evans. But it'd be hard pressed to find somebody who impacts the energy and the momentum of his team more than Isaiah Evans when he scores and when he gets on a run like that, that he had at the end of the first half leading into the start of the second half. And I think that really changed the game. I think Duke was lacking some energy. You saw Cal have a lot of positive momentum in that first half when, it was back and forth, and then Cal went on that 10-0 run to take the 25-19 lead, and then a 13-0 run going into the halftime locker room for Duke. And it was really spearheaded by Isaiah Evans. I think the big play everyone's going to look at is that dunk that he had off the missed free throw, and he spins towards the baseline and slams it down. But
that was amazing.
In that 13-0 run, he had 8 of the points, the dunk being one of them, and a couple of 3-pointers as well.
My guy Wes Durham on the call for this one went with several Showtime Slim references in this one. I thought that was a Showtime Slam he could have went for on the call as we're watching the game unfold. One of the rare opportunities we see Isaiah Evans jump off 2 feet for a dunk on that big play on the inside, which I think was awesome. Also saw a rare dunk from Caleb Foster in this one. So I'm always a guy that likes to give shout outs to the plays above the rim, Kevin, as someone who's never been able to dunk in my entire life, but always wish I could. So that was truly special. All right, we got to dive into this box score, talk a little bit more about Duke's win over Cal, and we'll do that after our first break. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the absolute best place to go when you're looking for those tickets in college sports. Tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. It used to be frustrating with long waiting queues, not forgetting or remembering your logins, prices jumping at checkout. All that was just terrible. But that's why Game Time stepped up, and they give advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college sports tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I opened the Game Time app to look at the upcoming games, and I was surprised at how fast it was to be able to find great seats. The app's incredibly easy to use. I went from browsing to buying tickets in just minutes. I love being able to see the view from my seat in the app before buying, so I know exactly what I was getting. Take the guesswork out of buying college tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, Kevin Connelly's hanging out with me today on the program, taking a look at this Duke win that the Blue Devils had over Cal. They won it by a score of 71-56, and Kev will put the box score up on the screen for our YouTube viewing audience. 3 guys in double figures for Duke in a 71-point scoring performance. It was Cam Boozer leading the way offensively, 21 points, 13 rebounds, 17 points for Isaiah Evans. And how about Nik Khamenia? The offensive 10-point outing for him was certainly a good sight to see.
Well, certainly a sight to see was for Khamenia. I think you can call him the pump fake king. It feels like every time he touches the ball, it's a pump fake, and he has no intention of shooting it. He just catches, pump fake, and then does whatever he's going to do with the basketball. But I thought Khamenia had a great second half. I think the play that really broke the game open was his N1, which pushed it to a 9-point lead. That really set the tone for the rest of the game, and Cal couldn't recover. And 8 of those points came in the second half. So I thought it was a really big-time second half for him. One of the reasons why Dame Sarr didn't play a lot in the second half, because Khamenia got 17 minutes because he was just playing so well. The one thing that to me stood out was you see the 3 guys with 4 fouls in Pat Gongba, Caden Boozer, and Malik Brown. And, I mean, I don't know. You can state your own opinion, JJ, but like that some of them were unnecessary fouls, especially Gongba, the 4th foul that he picked up with about 8 minutes to go. There was no need for that. And ultimately he didn't play again after that. Caden Boozer, he gets the start. It seems like he's playing well. The stats didn't necessarily back that up, but the 2 quick fouls in the second half gets him his 3rd and his 4th, and then he doesn't play again for the rest of the game. And Malik Brown, I thought he was really, really good defensively, as he always is, especially in that second half. Did a little bit of everything, rebounded, got a couple of assists, obviously the steals, but then 3 of his fouls come in the second half, but that I'm not really worried about that. I mean, one of them came under a minute to go, but it's more Caden Boozer and Pat Gongba, just fouls that they didn't necessarily need to pick up, careless fouls that in a game like this, it didn't really come back to hurt you. But when you have Caden Boozer picking up his 4th foul with 17 minutes to go and Pat Gongba picking up his 4th foul with over 8 minutes to go, that can hurt you in really big games, especially in the postseason going forward.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and thinking back through the game. I thought in that second half in particular, the officials were not at all afraid to blow the whistle, right? So many fouls both ways. Duke as a team committed 17, Cal with 22. These teams were getting to the bonus 4 or 5 minutes into the second half, it felt like, with how quickly those whistles were going.
Well, it was 24 fouls combined in the second half.
Jeez.
compared to the first half, which just had 15 total fouls. So 9 more fouls called in the second half than the first half. And it wasn't a tight game where, like, you could sometimes see those numbers if it's a close game inside a minute left and Cal's trying to extend the game or someone's trying to extend the game, intentional fouls late. And that wasn't the case in this game. So yeah, it was these refs. I guess they didn't understand that some of us are watching this game past 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast and we want to go to bed.
Yeah, we got places to be, people. We got the back of our eyelids to look at.
Yeah.
And you're trying to blow all these the whistle and get all these fouls going to that sort of thing. Craziness. You're right, though. I think that there are areas in the foul department where Duke needs to improve. And that's something that in a game like this, fortunately, it didn't come back to haunt you at all. I thought I just went and looked. Cameron Boozer, no fouls in this one. Only the second time this entire season that he's had a game where he did not commit a single foul. Niagara was the other outing of his where he didn't do that. So good to keep him out of foul trouble. But yeah, you don't already when you're kind of not the greatest in numbers, right? With Duke only playing 9 guys and Darren Harris in this one only plays 3 minutes and he's borderline out of the rotation at this point. You can't have that. You can't have, as you said, these many guys getting into foul trouble. And Cal, shout out to them being the third best team in the entire country from the free throw line, tops in the ACC, right? And it's a team that you don't want to put there at the charity stripe. And fortunately, for whatever reason, they missed a few in this one. And then down the stretch, Duke was able to not foul where they felt like Cal could have come back. Like if they were really making more shots and the defense wasn't there, and by the way, Duke was not making their free throws, a horrible 8 for 17 effort in this game for Duke. This could have been bad.
Yeah, I mean, the saving grace, I think, was collectively this was their best defensive game probably since the pre-Christmas break. We talked about it.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned it. I mean, you just look at their first 5 games against power conference competition, and they held their opponents to 37% from the field and 28% from three-point range. And in the 5 games against power conference teams since then, they've shot 51% from the floor and 41% from three-point range. And obviously that was cleaned up in a major way here tonight with 36% from the field and then just 21% from three-point range. So Duke's offense, for the most part this year, like I said, has been carrying them in this recent stretch. Tonight, I thought their offense probably played like a C+ game. I didn't think was anything like outstanding. They didn't shoot the ball well from three-point range. They struggled again from the free throw line. Now, second chance points and offensive rebounds were really good because they were just a bigger team than Cal. But in this game, you look at the scoreboard and say, oh, well, they scored 71 points. Yeah, but I still think it was their defense that was the better side of the basketball tonight.
Yeah, free throws specifically. Khamenia goes 1 for 1 from the free throw line, 1 for 3 from Isaiah Evans, 0 for 1 for Dame Sarr. Sarr's now down to 51% on the year, which is just terrible. Got to improve in that regard. Cam Boozer, 3 of 5, Gongba, 2 of 5, and Caden Boozer, 1 of 2 from the charity stripe. So it's like everybody. You can't really point at one guy that's not a part of this free throw shooting problem.
Yeah, it's collective. And I think in a game like this, you can't have Isaiah Evans be 1 of 3. You need him to be one of your better free throw shooters. The big fellas down low. I mean, Cameron Boozer, I think you expect a lot of. Pat Gongba, your center, if your center can float around 70%, you're feeling really good about that. So yeah, that's things to clean up. But JJ, this isn't just a one-off, right? I mean, when they do have great free throw shooting games, it's one of the first things we say on this show after games, like, hey, look at this. They were great from the free throw line. But more often than not, we're talking about the struggles from the free throw line. And I mean, it's January 15th. It's not like you can flip a switch and all of a sudden become a great free throw shooting team. I think this is what they are. They're not a great free throw shooting team for whatever reason, because, sometimes it is the decorated shooters that struggle from the line, whether it be Caleb Foster or Isaiah Evans or so on and so forth. So you just hope it doesn't cost them games down the stretch, kind of like it has. And I think 2 of their better chances to win national championships. You look at the Zion Williamson team, you look at the Paolo Banchero team.
You just put me at the free throw line in my head with RJ Barrett, Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'm just heartbroken thinking about it.
Yeah. So you hope it doesn't come back to bite this team like it has those teams in the past.
Well, we'll see how Duke continues to build off this one. They'll take on Stanford coming up on Saturday. Duke 5-0 in ACC play. Stanford, a gritty win on their home floor against the North Carolina Tar Heels tonight. Let's dive into that and what's next for Duke after this when Locked On Blue Devils continues here in just a moment. Thank you so much for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen and your first watch here today. Make sure that you check out our Everydayer Club. Again, thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the entire world, in the galaxy. And for that, we've launched the Everydayer Club. With Locked On, this is access to an ad-free audio version of Locked On Blue Devils every single day, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You're also getting an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. So go check it all out and more. Check out the link in our show description and be a part of the Everydayer Club here with Locked On. Kevin Connelly's here with me today on the show. Duke wins over Cal 71-56, and now the California road trip continues for Duke. They're not flying back home. They'll get some rest there in the Golden State, and they'll take on Stanford coming up on Saturday. Before we get there, can we give a little shout-out, Kevin, to all the celebrities and the people that showed up to see Duke basketball in attendance for this game against Cal? That was awesome.
Yeah, it was almost like a Madison Square Garden celebrity row. You had the Curry family there. Ken Jeong was there. Scottie Pippen was there. Obviously, his connection to Cal. So he was more there watching Cal than he was watching Duke. But yeah, it was a big time celebrity crowd on a whatever night it was. Wednesday night. At this point, who knows what night it was? But yeah, it was cool to see all those people out at this game.
A Wednesday night in the Bay and people showing up. I saw Duke posted a photo. DeMarcus Nelson was back in the building for Duke basketball, and Seth Curry, as you mentioned, was there with his brother Steph and their dad Dell, who play right now for the Golden State Warriors. Dell Curry, the announcer for the Charlotte Hornets these days. They play this week in the state of California, so easy for all of them to be there. The Boozers were there, like you said, so really cool. Shout out to all the Brotherhood connections that were there in the building for this one. The actor Ken Jeong, Duke alum, was in the building, hyping them up and that sort of thing, so I loved it. Also, what was great in that area was Stanford taking it to North Carolina there down the stretch. What a high-scoring, really fun basketball game where, in all likelihood, Kevin, several Duke fans might not have been paying as close attention to that game had they not been waiting for the Duke game to start on the ACC network right prior to this one. But that was a fun one to see, and now Duke plays that very Stanford team up next on Saturday.
That was a really great college basketball game. Unfortunate that it trickled into the start time of Duke game, but saw a heck of an ending. And the one thing I'll say is Stanford's not catching Duke by surprise anymore. When you hang 95 on North Carolina and hit 16 threes in the process, they shot 16 of 28 from three-point range. Now, I know North Carolina in recent games has left a lot to be desired on the defensive side of the floor. But what Stanford did offensively cannot be ignored. And when you look at their freshman guard, who was as under the radar gets, not just coming into college basketball, but coming into this season, and Ebuka Okorie, I mean, he was phenomenal. He's been phenomenal all year. 36 points in this game. And if not for a man named Cameron Boozer or even Caleb Wilson, he could be the front runner for the ACC Freshman of the Year. I think certainly he will be on the ACC All-Freshman team, barring injury. He's been that good this year. And I don't know how many of your viewers were watching late-night ACC basketball a couple of weeks ago when Stanford hosted Notre Dame, and they lost the game 47-40, 47-40. In a 40-minute basketball game. It wasn't like, hey, halftime, go home, this game's over. No, they played a full 40 minutes, and there was 87 total points scored in the game. And then you watch Stanford again on a night like this, and they put up 95. So maybe it was a good thing for Duke that Stanford did this in this game, because certainly when the coaches watch film over the next couple of days on the Cardinal, nothing is going to catch Duke by surprise, because they fully will know what Stanford is capable of by just popping the film on of this game against the Tar Heels.
Yeah, looking at what they've done so far this season, I know Brendan Marks of The Athletic was pointing out their resume. Stanford has lost to Seattle and UNLV, just bad programs in the sport. But they've also now got wins over North Carolina, Louisville, Virginia Tech, and it's insane what they were able to do in this one down the stretch against the Tar Heels. Ebuka Okorie, as you said, 36 points. They're 6'2" guard, one of the best freshmen. I'm with you. He's got to be on the all-freshman team. I hope he gets freshman All-American buzz, because he's been that dynamic of a scorer. At 6'2", there's a major size advantage if you put someone like Dame Sarr out there on him. I think Caleb Foster is going to really love the responsibility of an assignment like that. I would imagine after watching a game like that on tape, Duke's going to send a lot of different looks at Ebuka Okorie, not just one guy.
Yeah, and you look at this game, there are a couple players from Stanford who really filled it up. You go off the bench and you look at a guy like Jeremy Dent-Smith, 6'1", not really known as a scorer, came into this game just averaging 6 points, and he hit 6 3-pointers on North Carolina. So, like, are you expecting him to do something like that again on Saturday night? I don't know. But, yeah, I think Dame Sarr is going to play a big role in this game defensively. I think Caleb Foster is going to have to play a big role defensively in trying to slow down this Stanford backcourt. And like you said, they're going to throw multiple different looks at these guys. Caden Boozer, I'm sure, will get some run as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Should be a fun game. And we'll see if Duke can go 2-0 out on the West Coast.
So Stanford last year had the super dynamic Maxine Reynaud, who in many other years would have been given tons of consideration for ACC Player of the Year. Unfortunately for him, there's somebody named Cooper Flagg that exists. And now we see Maxine Reynaud at the next level, starting actually right now for the Sacramento Kings in that post position. I bring that up to say the post not as significant for Stanford going into Saturday's contest. Once again, an opportunity for the likes of Cameron Boozer and Patrick Gongba to get to work there on the interior.
Well, listen, you don't want to cherry pick too much, especially about a team that just scored 95 points and hit, 16 3-pointers in this game.
Yeah.
But the starting forwards for Stanford against North Carolina combined for 2 points and 2 rebounds and took a total of 4 shots.
How did they win this game, man? It's just things like that. The 16 threes, that's the answer. But then it's like, dude, 2 points combined from your forwards?
Yeah, your starting forwards had 2 points, but when you can get, let's see, I'm going to do some quick math, 20, 40, when you get 76 points from 3 guards, 2 starting, 1 off the bench.
That'll do it.
That'll win you a lot of basketball games.
That'll do it for sure. All right. Well, Kevin, it's late. We are going to let people enjoy this episode as they start their days on Thursday or whenever they may be watching Locked On Blue Devils. I want them to also get an opportunity to check out all of your work and support you. How can they best do that?
Yeah, balldurham.com. We have full coverage of this Duke win over Cal. You could also listen to the Believe in Duke Football podcast, where we're breaking down this game against Cal and the game against Stanford. You can catch that over the weekend. That'll be a later week podcast coming out talking about this game, but you can find that on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. But full coverage of Duke and Cal, and then obviously Duke and Stanford over at balldurham.com. Good
to see you, Kevin. We'll talk soon, okay?
Appreciate it, JJ. Thanks for having me.
That's Kevin Connelly joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. That's going to do it for our show here today. Thank you guys for all of your support with what we do here on Locked On Blue Devils. Big win today for Duke as they knock off Cal 71-56. Duke now 5-0 in ACC play. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. Subscribe to us for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. And check out our all-new Everydayer Club with Locked On by clicking in the link down in the description below. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.